On this week's Sci-Fi Timelines, we're taking a trip to the planet of the Apes. How well does continuity hold up in a series that's mostly about time travel? Let's find out. The original Planet of the Apes was released in 1968, and this lovely console tells us that our heroes are from 1972, and have now cryogenically traveled to the year 2673, although an accident soon crashes them onto an alien planet, and we learn that it is now 3978. Pretty soon, they locate some primitive locals and their ape-like captors, and one of the astronauts are killed, but the others are caught. We're introduced to apes Zira, Cornelius, and Dr. Zaius, as well as the attractive primitive girl, Nova. Charlton Heston here says his trademark damn dirty ape line.
Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape!
And soon it's revealed that the other scientist has been lobotomized. Eventually... Oh. I see what you did there. And then they escape with the help of the two chimpanzees. After Heston gets a gun, because, that's his whole thing, right? He soon discovers that Planet of the Apes has been Earth all along, and apes are now the dominant life form. 2 years later, in 1970, Beneath the Planet of the Apes was released. This one kicks off with another crashed ship with an astronaut who looks remarkably Hestonish, and he states that it's the year 3955, which places them about 23 years before the previous film. Then we meet Nova again, and we discover this one picks up shortly after the last one left off, so we have a time discrepancy here. So here's what I'm going with. When Taylor looked at the control panel in the first film, the ship had already crashed and the electrics had already malfunctioned. In this one, Brent says he looked at the panel before they crashed, so I'm picking that one as the more accurate reading, and we're setting both films in 3955. We head back to Ape City and meet Gorilla General Ursus and spot Zira and Cornelius, although he's sounding a little less Peter Vincent-y. They locate the Forbidden Zone, which is the New York subway system, and discover the mutants that live there, as well as the nuclear bomb that they worship. Taylor is there, and a final battle sees Nova getting killed, Brent gets shot up, and a dying Taylor activates the bomb, blowing up the entire planet and ending the series. Well, that only lasted 1 year, since 1971 saw Escape from the Planet of the Apes. We start off with Brent's capsule showing up at the same beach where the first movie ended. Although it's in LA now, so I'm not quite sure how the Statue of Liberty ended up there. And we quickly learn that Zira, Cornelius, and Dr. Milo have repaired Brett's ship and used it to go back in time through a time warp created by Earth's destruction, which makes total scientific sense, why not? Milo gets gorillaed, and Zira and Cornelius become overnight sensations, and we're soon discovered that Zira is pregnant, so she probably shouldn't be drinking here. She then drunkenly says that the world blew up in the year 3950-something, confirming the date from the last movie. The date of this movie is not given, but they state that Taylor has been missing for over 2 years, so it should be after 1974, since we know that Taylor left in 1972. We're told by the apes that a plague killed Earth's cats and dogs, so humans took apes as pets, and 2 centuries later they evolved to do household chores, so that would happen around late 2100, and then 3 centuries later would conquer humans, so that would be in the 2400s. They then tell of an ape leader named Aldo, who leads the revolution, and Zira then admits to experimenting on humans while drugged, so they have to escape, and they hide out with Khan, where their baby is born. They're eventually found and killed, causing Cornelius to make this sound. The hell was that? But it turns out that the baby was switched and is still alive with Mr. Rourke. The series' habit of killing all of its leads didn't stop it, since 1972 then saw Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. It starts off right, getting us a nice big date indicator of 1991. We're then quickly reintroduced to Armando and Zira and Cornelius' son, played by Roddy McDowall again, and he's now named Caesar. He mentions that it's 20 years later, but he's approximating here since that doesn't exactly line up with the previous film, since that would be 71 before Taylor's mission left Earth. We learned that the plague showed up in 83 and apes were made pets, like stated in the last film, although there's no explanation given as to how they were able to reach human size and aptitude in just 8 years instead of the 2 centuries that Cornelius mentioned. There's a racial message here that's, well, not subtle. After Montalban is killed, Caesar inspires the apes to rebel and defeat their captors, leading to a race riot in which the apes win and kick off their ape rising. I'm sorry. As Caesar decides to be compassionate to humans in an odd voiceover tacked on after audiences dislike the original violent ending. The world only had to wait one more year for the next entry, Battle for the Planet of the Apes, and I love when movies just flat out flash the date up on the screen. It's like instant time guy relief. It's 2670 here, about 700 years after the last one, and only about 3 years before the intro to the first film. We're given a short recap, and then we flash back to some time after the events of the last one. Things look pretty crappy because of a post-ape uprising nuclear war, and then we meet Guerrilla Sergeant Aldo and young Cornelius, son of Caesar. In the remains of LA, they find this footage of Zero and Cornelius, and it's dated 1973, giving us an official date for that movie, although it doesn't make total sense since they said that Taylor was missing for over 2 years, and he left in 72, so let's just assume that that guy was approximating and overshot the date. So, young Cornelius is killed by Aldo, who then runs a mutiny, and apes defeat the mutants, and Caesar gets revenge. At the very end, this guy says he's lived in the armory for 27 years, so this one would place this one about 30 years after the last one, so this is probably about 2020. Finally, we flash back to 2670 and see apes and humans living together as one, which would indicate one of two things. Either Caesar's presence in the past changed history to a degree, and Taylor will be arriving in a very different future, or sometime between 2670 and 3955, ape and human relations spiral downwards into the society that we see in the original. Shortly after, there was a very short-lived TV show, followed by an animated series, neither of which are considered canon, although the live-action show featured Roddy McDowall again, and took place in the year 3085. A long time passed, and in 2001 we get a Tim Burton-directed, big-budget remake, which should be a surefire success story, right? It starts off on a space station in 2029, and a warp sends Marky Mark into the future, where he then meets the improved makeup apes, and we get a reversal of the stinking paws line.
Take your stinking hands off me, you damn dirty human!
They never give the actual year, but in a Dark Horse comic adaptation, they give the year as 5021. He's helped by a kindly chimp, and Charlton Heston makes an appearance as an ape this time. Marky then discovers that the space station is also on the planet, though arrived much earlier than him, although it went through the warp much later than him, and the experimental apes are what evolved into the ones that populate the planet. There's a big final battle, and Marky's favorite chimp from the beginning finally shows up, even though he went through the warp first, showing that items that go through the warp travel at different and opposite rates, as in whatever goes through first travels ahead the furthest. He takes the pod and flies back into the storm, and soon lands back on Earth, most likely back in 2029. However, it appears as if the evil apes repaired his other ship and entered the warp much later, and since things travel in opposite rates, they landed much, much earlier and took over Earth, creating a new Planet of the Apes, and, it's pretty dumb. Burton's entry didn't fare too well, so the apes went away for 10 years until 2011's Rise of the Planet of the Apes, which rebooted the series again and completely disregards the time travel aspect. We're introduced to Bright Eyes, a rather smart chimp, and this graph shows a 10-year projection. It seems to start at 2011, so it looks like we start there, and Bright Eyes is shot right after giving birth to baby Caesar here. It then jumps to 3 years later, so if that 2011 date is correct, this is now 2014, and Caesar is getting smarter and smarter thanks to Will's experimental treatments. We then transition to 5 years later, so most likely in 2019 now, and Caesar's quite a bit bigger and gets put with other apes. Meanwhile, they restart their testing, and Will's assistant gets exposed to the chemical and gets sick and then spreads it, and then Caesar uses the chemical on other apes, making them all smarter, and then the assistant dies. There's a callback to the first movie as we see that the Icarus, Taylor's spaceship, is on a Mars mission. We get a new version of the stinking paw line.
Take your stinking paw off me, you damn dirty ape!
And Caesar says his first words,
No!
and then escapes. The newspaper gives us the news that the Icarus is lost, possibly in time, and a date of July 2016, which gives us our official date of the film, and the earlier scenes would then be in 2011 and 2008. There's a big face-off on the Golden Gate Bridge with fellow apes Big Gorilla, Scarred Guy, the Orang, and the apes all escape into the Redwoods. The end credits then show us that the virus that killed the assistant is now spreading worldwide. 3 years later, the next chapter arrived with Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. It kicks off with letting us know that the virus has now spread and has wiped out an extremely large portion of the human population. The apes have their own society, and they can read and write now, and Caesar becomes a dad. Maurice the orangutan says it has been 10 years since the outbreak, so we're in 2026 here. They come at odds with nearby humans, and establish the scarred one, Koba, can also talk. An uneasy truce leads to tension between Caesar and Koba, and eventually a battle with guns and horses. They go back to Will's house, but he's presumably long dead, and then there's a final ape versus ape and human versus human standoff, and then we finally find out that there's another group of humans on their way, and Koba gets dropped, and the apes set off for war, setting us up for this year's War for the Planet of the Apes. So there you have it, 8 movies about to be 9. Hold up fairly well with how well they ping pong back and forth with a few inconsistencies, but I gotta say, not too bad at all. I am really looking forward to War for the Planet of the Apes with how good this new series has been. It's just gonna be even better, so I'm really looking forward to that. And that's it for this week's video. If you enjoyed this one, please make sure you leave me a comment below, like and subscribe, share on whatever social media that you would like. Speaking of social media, you can also check out my Instagram page, which is just @MovieTimelines. Pretty easy. I'll actually have a lot of behind-the-scenes pictures and pictures of me at famous film locations, so you can check out. I also have a Facebook page, which is just Movie Timelines. Go there and like the page. Do whatever you like. And also let me know any other series that you would like to see down below. We've got a lot of great stuff coming up, so looking forward to some fantastic videos in the near future, and I'll see you then. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.